Warhammer Age of Sigmar is a tabletop skirmish game played with fantasy-themed miniatures. But Warhammer is more than a game. It is a hobby of collecting and building and painting those miniatures. As a hobby, Warhammer involves art, strategy, and community, both online and around the physical table. I first discovered Warhammer in high school and dived into the hobby deeply while writing my PhD in the early 2000s. But then, like many, took a 2-decade break. Family, career, computer games took over. It wasn't until 2019 that I returned to the hobby, and then the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns gave me lots of time to start pushing my painting abilities. The hobby has been particularly beneficial for my mental health. The practice of painting is very therapeutic. It's very restful and calming. It feels like meditation, especially when I get into that psychological flow state and the process just takes over and you don't think about it and you just enjoy the experience of being. For many years, I'd been envious of my colleagues who brought knitting and crocheting to work meetings. And so while lockdown meant many Zoom meetings, it also meant that I was able to tinker with the paintbrush while still actively participating in the conversation. The internet, particularly YouTube and Instagram, but also Twitch and Facebook, has been crucial for developing my abilities as a painter. I began to explore the hobby media niche, and I learned how to paint and experiment creatively. YouTube and Twitch have also been fundamental to my learning how to play the competitive side of the game. Age of Sigmar, which is the fantasy version of Warhammer, has what's called a matched play mode, in which two people assemble their forces, paying for points for each model chosen up to 2,000 points, and a single model costs something like 8 or 10 points, and units of 5 to 10 cost around 80 to 200 points. So these games take 5 rounds, with each player taking a turn in the round. So that usually lasts between 2 to 3 hours. The game is quite complex, and it takes a significant amount of time and energy to learn how to play. As the lockdowns ended, my partner, Lucy, and I began participating in local competitions at the nearby Warhammer store in Wollongong. We attended our first 2-day competition in April in Sydney, 2022. This event, known as the Sydney GT, involves playing 5 3-hour rounds over 2 days. It is definitely the test match of competitive tabletop war games. Since then, we've travelled to Hobart and Canberra and Sydney to play in other 2-day tournaments. We typically attend 1 or 2 one-day events at places like the Dice Arcade in Miranda and the Combat Company in Sydney once or twice a month, usually once a month. We are now deep into the hobby. I listen to AOS podcasts. When I walk the dog, my partner and I plan our weekends around fitting in games, particularly Saturday mornings. It's usually coffee and practice for the next event. And we've made many new friends who are passionate about the hobby. The competitive AOS community in New South Wales, in Australia, and globally via Discord have been incredibly welcoming, diverse, and fun to be a part of. I look forward to participating in the media niche as we begin to experiment in creating content.